everybody, I'm Latrina Patrick. Welcome to day 22 of our 90-day grant writing tutorial. Today I want to talk to you about the common reasons that most proposals don't get funded. I'm going to talk about 10 in all, but I'm going to do 5 today and then 5 tomorrow. So you make sure you tune in tomorrow to get the remainder. These are not in any particular order. I just chose 10 of the most common reasons that grants don't get funded. Number 1, they don't follow instructions. The grant process is an extensive process, but it's not really a complicated process. I think we have a tendency at times to make it complicated. It's very simple, and one of the things that we can do to facilitate the process is to follow the instructions. Where people get tripped up with not following the instructions is usually in the simple stuff like the pre-screening criteria, like the formatting stuff. If you don't follow the formatting, then you won't even make it to the reviewer. Your grant won't even make it to the reviewer. Doing what they ask for in each section. So they ask very specific things under each section, whether it's the problem statement, the program description, the budget, the evaluation, whatever it is, they lay out for you very specifically what it is that they want to see in that section. And people have a tendency to overlook those items and they miss out on valuable scoring points because they didn't follow the instructions. So number 1 is they don't follow the instructions. Number 2, it's written poorly. You don't have to be a brain surgeon or a rocket scientist to write a good grant. You really don't. It's really a skill that anybody can acquire. And one of the best things you can do when you're trying to write the grant is to keep it simple, keep it concise. Don't get into a lot of jargon. Don't get into a lot of big words. But just write concisely, clearly, and the best thing you can do is make sure that you have one person that's doing the majority of the writing. We talked about in week 1 that the only exception to that is for the evaluation. That section needs to be written by the evaluator. But for the most part, there needs to be one writer throughout that grant, and that way the message stays cohesive and it makes more sense and it flows better. But poor writing is another mistake that people make. The third thing is the organization just lacks the experience to pull it off. Sometimes nonprofit organizations can get a bit overzealous and they shoot too high. And when you do that, it's going to tell on you in your application, because throughout that application, they're looking for a demonstration that your organization has the capacity to pull off the program that you're asking them to fund. And if there is any doubt that you can pull it off, then you're not going to get the funding. The fourth reason that many proposals don't get funded is that it just wasn't a good match for the grant award itself and that particular program. You really have to make sure that when you're seeking grant applications and opportunities for funding, that you find something that's a good matchup for what you're doing, that you're seeking a funder who likes to fund the type of program that you're going to implement. That's half the battle right there. So if you are looking for a foundation or a funder that funds what you do, then that increases the likelihood that you will actually get funded. I mean, as long as you wrote a good proposal and as long as you have the credentials and the capacity to do it, if they're looking to fund that type of program, that ups your chances. But if you're trying to apply for a grant that really isn't a good match for what you do and you're trying to bend your program to fit their criteria, then you really are setting yourself up for failure. So make sure you have a good match when you're getting ready to pursue grant funding. The fifth reason that many proposals don't get funded is because they don't have a sustainability plan. You got to remember that when you're seeking funding from a particular agency or a grantor or a donor, whoever, they are looking at something that they can invest in primarily as a seed. So maybe they want to give you money to get your program going because based on what they can see, your program is worth the investment and they want to give you the money to help you get it going. So they're not typically looking to fund something year after year after year after year. You know, if you're going after a federal grant, they're looking to fund their programs typically 3 years, sometimes 3 to 5 years, but on average 3 years. And a foundation or a corporation, they're usually doing it, you know, maybe once, and it's like 1 year they'll do it, or they'll give you a certain amount and they'll promise to give it to you over a 3-year period. So they're not looking to fund something that's not going to be around. And if you can't demonstrate to them that after that funding runs out, that your program will still be around, that you have the community partners or other sources of funding to help you out, then they're not going to be confident in giving you that funding award because you don't have a sustainability plan. In other words, you can't show them how you're going to sustain that program after their funding runs out. So those are the 5 things I want to cover today. Tune back in tomorrow when we will talk about the remaining 5 things of the 10 reasons that most grant applications do not get funded. So if you have any questions or comments about anything I've covered today, leave me a question here on the YouTube channel. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and send the link to your friends so that they can subscribe as well. I want to let you know that I also send out a weekly email update letting you know what's coming up every week in my tutorial. So you get a sneak peek on what's coming up that particular week. In order to get those updates, go over to my website, www.greatervisionconsulting.com, and subscribe to my email updates. I hope that this has been helpful to you. I've enjoyed sharing this with you, and I look forward to coming back tomorrow when we finish up on the top 10 reasons that most grants are not funded. Talk to you soon. Bye.